20 days left until Halloween. It's time for episode 302 of Horror Weekly.
The Horror Weekly, yay!
With the Horror Guys.
That's right. I'm Brian.
You are not.
Okay, I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
All right, just seeing if you're paying attention.
Not really.
Yeah, almost got you.
Yeah. Alrighty, so as always, we've got 5 movies.
It's the Halloween season.
3 shorts.
So they're pumping out the horror movies, and we've got all new stuff.
We've had all new stuff for like 6 or 8 weeks now.
Yeah, I know.
No end in sight.
There's so many new things coming out. It's great.
It is a boom time for horror, no doubt about it.
Yeah, very popular.
Okay, one quick reminder that we have launched our companion podcast and newsletter called Classics Weekly. It's devoted to, believe it or not, classic films. Our second episode, Singin' in the Rain, launched earlier this week. It's basically the same as Horror Weekly, where we get on here and talk about the movie, but in this case it's only one movie, and it's an old movie, and it's not horror.
We spend a little more time on it, a little more in-depth.
One movie gives us a little more research time, yes.
Yeah, it does.
Well, anyway, next week...
Plus, with them being old movies, there tends to be a lot more trivia and stories by now. So.
There's very little that's not known about Casablanca or Singin' in the Rain.
And the people that were in it and so forth, yeah.
Next week, we're going to go even further back in time with the very first talking film.
Interesting.
Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
All right, let's see. The latest issue of Horror Monthly is now on sale. Go to horrormonthly.com to pick up the latest issue in a print edition or as an ebook. And you can get that pretty much anywhere you want. You can get it right off our site, direct from us. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it from Lulu, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, Kobo.
Wherever fine books are sold.
Yeah, where the bad books are sold, too. Anywhere. So, anyway, this week, we've got some movies for you. What do we got?
Oh, we have new things. We mentioned that. We have the anthology VHS Beyond. They're a group that has put out numerous anthologies.
I would have to look, but I think we have watched them all.
I think we have, yeah. And then we're going to get all sexy with Strange Darling. We're going to get pregnant with Apartment 7A.
Sexy usually precedes the pregnancy part.
It often does, yeah. And then we're going to avoid the kids.
That is the next step.
Yeah, Children of the Pines. And we have some fun shorts in there. And we've got a road trip. What a fun road trip.
Oh, yeah.
Bloodstar.
Yeah, and a few short films as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, what are we going to start out with?
Well, the first one I have here is Bloodstar.
Bloodstar.
Let's talk about that one.
Directed by Lawrence Giacomelli. Written by him and George Kelly and Victoria Hinks Taylor. Stars Brittany Camacho, John Schwab, and Sidney Brumfield. It's really a cast of 2 for the most part.
The majority of the movie is those 2 people, yeah.
Hour and 37 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. And
there's a few other characters that support it, but yeah, it's really a war between these 2. Spoiler free. Well, between the hints in the trailer and the poster and the opening scene, we get a general idea of where things are going to go, but we don't know how it's going to go or what's going to happen. And the ride along the way is a wild one. We thought it was really well made with a well written and suspenseful script. And interesting characters, and we liked it a lot.
And while he was talking, I looked up where you could watch this one, and this just is generically video on demand. So I don't know where you can see this one. Maybe it's not quite distributed yet.
VOD.
VOD, yes.
You should keep an eye out for this one, because it's worth watching for sure.
It was good.
Give a little taste.
Well, a woman staggers down the desert road, bleeding and crying as the car slowly approaches her from behind. That's how our next movie is going to start, too. Strange Darling starts out the same way.
It kind of does, yeah.
A man we don't see gets out of the car, and the girl is clearly terrified of him. He drops a gun and 1 bullet, and then goes back to the car. She ineffectively shoots at him as he runs her over. Credits roll.
Oof. So this is part of his game, apparently, to give her a chance of sorts.
Bobby drives down the empty desert highway the next morning or sometime later and gets a phone call from her sister warning her not to go home to her abusive guy. She stops in at a last chance gas station for a refill, and the sheriff overhears her arguing on the phone and strikes up a conversation about the call. He points out that her tires are worn out. He's a little creepy, but she deals with it. Back on the road, Bobby takes another call from her sister, and she gets a little upset and floors it.
Bad move.
There's a speed trap, and she zooms right past it. And the way this movie goes, you have to wonder if she had been speeding, would there be something else that came along?
Oh, he would have found a reason to pull her over.
Well, the cop who pulls her over is the same guy as before. This time, she flirts with him. He accuses her of throwing something out the window that smashed his flashing light bar. She did not.
But it is indeed broken.
He gives her a ticket for $1,000, which she can't afford. He wants $300 to make it go away right now, which she can afford, sorta, but she has to go back to the gas station ATM. And he says he'll hold on to her phone to make sure she follows through. And this, folks, is why you always put on, Face ID or a password.
Mm-hmm. Keep your phones locked.
All right, well, the gas station doesn't have a working ATM after all, and her credit card is overdrawn. Her boyfriend has cleaned out her account. Blake, the gas station guy, hints that Sheriff Bilstein does this kind of thing all the time, and she decides just to drive on without her phone. And this turns out to be, of course, a bad move.
Yes, because the sheriff does not give up.
Well, the moral of the story seems to be don't drive through the desert if you're broke.
Or ever. Just don't.
Deserts are bad places.
Just don't.
Everyone does act fairly logically for the situation. The sheriff is creepy, but he's also kind of interesting. Why is he doing all this? What is he going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
He's not just your crazy stalker.
Well, he is a crazy stalker.
Well, he is,
but,
yeah.
But he's got a little more depth than that, yeah.
It's a stalker slasher film, but this time we get a lot of the sheriff, and he's not stupid in any way. He's got this regular thing that he does, and he's mostly got the kinks worked out. Bobby has lots of family issues, which she works out on the road.
So this is a therapeutic movie.
Well, it is for her, I guess.
Way, yeah. Well, I mentioned it before. I liked that the characters had some depth, which made it easier rooting for Bobby and made the sheriff and his, there's a brother, Ed, makes them more interesting. The skillful writing and good acting and, the special effects are all good. Everything was good about this one. I liked it a lot. Big thumbs up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Our next one here, I've looked it up ahead of time, is also video on demand.
Okay.
So good luck finding. But they are available. It's not like on the festival or anything. They're out there. It's just very recent releases, and these are indie films, so they go to maybe some of the lesser, harder to find places.
And these are ones that we being reviewers get an early taste of them.
Yeah, we're not hiding where we saw it. Yeah. Children of the Pines, 2024, directed and written by Joshua Morgan, stars Kelly Tappan, Danielle J. Bowman, and Vas Provatakis. That's quite a name.
That is a cool name.
Vas Provatakis. Sounds almost Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
Hour and 33 minutes trailer in the show notes. Spoiler free. We thought the writing was stronger than the direction, both done by Joshua Morgan, but it was not a failure of a movie. Well, that doesn't sound terribly promising just yet.
Well, it does, though. The
script, cast, cinematography, and soundtrack make for an interesting film. It's a frying pan full of family struggles and baggage simmering on a stove burner of horror underneath. It's slow, but it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall, I liked it.
Okay, well, what goes on in this movie?
Well, Riley and her mother, Kathy, hide from an abusive father who is ranting. And credits roll. And we get a voiceover from Riley. She's growing up talking about how depressing life is and how things are not going great. And, well, years pass. Leon, an older man, tells himself affirmations in the mirror and about how he's a new man. Lorelei.
At first, I thought this was the father.
At first, I thought
it's not.
So. No, he's
he's somebody else. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Well, Lorelei, a woman with the fakest smile and laugh ever, comes to see Kathy as Kathy brings her husband John for treatment.
Yeah, just you ever see one of those TV preachers? They smile consistently, nonstop,
and it's like they've put Vaseline on their teeth, so it. So it slides over. And,
yeah, absolutely fake people.
Yeah. But there's a reason for it. It's not bad acting. She's doing this
No,
on
no,
purpose.
no, no. Yeah, no. It's the character.
Don't think that. It's the character, yeah. Well, they talk and record an interview, which is weird, yeah. Lorelai and Leon have been doing this thing for 35 years.
We don't know what it is, but they've been doing it.
Yeah. John has stopped drinking and is getting better, Kathy explains. And the whole conversation is kind of awkward, and Kathy is clearly uncomfortable. Riley has gone away to school and doesn't come home anymore because of John. Lorelai is vague, but it sounds like maybe they're joining a cult.
Okay, so Riley was abused when she was little. Now she won't come home because she's at school. And the mother and father are joining a cult.
And, yeah, they never broke up. She's still with the abusive husband. Well, we cut to adult Riley, who returns to her hometown after many years away at college. She stops at a diner in town and talks to Gordon, the waiter, who is her high school ex-boyfriend, and they have a chat. She's inspired him to apply for college as well. Gordon says he works for her dad now, which she's not keen on at all.
She doesn't like her dad.
No, and this really upsets her. He calls her parents Mom and Dad now, and she gets pretty grumpy about that.
We're like, have they adopted him, or has he taken over her spot in the family, or what's going on?
Yeah. Well, arriving at the cabin, Riley talks to Kathy, her mother, and they talk about good times and bad with her father, and they do both get upset talking about it. Kathy mentions that her father, John, is off with the kids, but she won't explain what that means. She's really evasive about it.
And we should stop there, because the rest of this is spoiler territory.
We should, yeah.
Who are these kids? Her parents don't have any kids.
And yet there are children.
There are children. We see them.
Where do these children come from?
Whose children are they?
Well, we find out, and it's weird.
It's not what you might think. Whatever the conclusion you're about to jump to, it's probably not right.
Probably not, but yeah. See that? Yeah, that's what I liked about the writing.
Well, the film seems to be saying that people can never change. Can abusive people ever improve themselves and be redeemed? Apparently not.
Not these folks anyway.
Much of the film feels more like a string of filmed dramatic conversations than a real movie. It's very, very talky.
And a little bit choppy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like two people sitting in a room talking, and then we'll cut to two more people in a different room talking. Just a lot of talking, really.
Yeah.
There are long literary monologues explaining Riley's feelings and memories between scenes of people explaining the current situation. At least in the beginning. That kind of clears up later.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, it's very talky. Like if they had a really good script, the guy wrote all this good dialogue in there, but then didn't know how to film it interestingly to make it look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is an interesting story that comes off as kind of dull because of that. Since it was written and directed by the same person, it's pretty obvious where his talents do and don't lie. The acting, cinematography, and music are all very well done. The story itself is interesting and has a good concept, and it's very, very weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the story at the core really makes it. And like we said, the weakest part was the direction, but it was still a good movie. It entertained me. And
I think they could have cut down some of the talky stuff in the beginning and made the ending bits a little more of it.
A little more talky.
Once we know what's going on,
mm-hmm.
we don't get much time with that.
It moves fast once things start flowing. Yeah. But, overall, I give it a thumbs up. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is next?
Next up, VHS Beyond from 2024, which was directed by Jay Cheel, Jordan Downey, Christian Long, written by Evan Dixon, Jordan Downey, and Mike Flannan. Stars Philip Andre Botello, Joan Anderson, and Tyler Anderson. Runtime's an hour and 54 minutes.
And you can find this one on Shudder.
Mm-hmm. It's an anthology
Yes.
of shorts, just like the others in the series. And this one leans a lot more towards science fiction, with bad aliens doing bad things, along with some other horrors of various types. It moves fast with some breathers in between from experts. They're like doing a documentary-style commentary. We thought it was quite good. If you're a fan of the previous movies in the series, you ought to like this one too.
Okay, and I'm not going to read all this because there's like 4 or 5 stories.
Yeah, and it would spoil them and stuff. But it's it's found footage kind of stuff, first-person footage, a lot of that. In an anthology of short horrors.
And I will say that the wraparound story is pretty awful. The documentary has boring people talking about
documentary-
boring stuff and nothing really
The
happens.
stories are so good.
The individual stories are all good. There's no losers here. So it's definitely worth seeing.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they didn't spend a lot of time on that wraparound story.
I don't think so, yeah. But
Yeah.
it gives you a chance to calm down in between them, I guess.
All right, yeah.
Because the wraparound is really just people sitting there talking.
Yeah, it's a documentary interview kind of thing. And yawn.
With, documentary experts giving their take
Yes.
on it.
Well, the budget for the segments in this one have clearly gotten higher than the previous films. They've been successful, and it's starting to show.
Yeah.
The creature designs in Stork and Live and Let Dive were really well done, as were all the visual effects. The dog things in Fur Babies were a little bit weak, but in a funny way.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
When you know the story, it's well done.
Yeah.
The wraparound story was essentially useless fluff. I thought Dream Girl was the weakest of the entries, but they were all good.
Mm-hmm, they were.
I think Stork and Live and Let Dive were the best of the bunch, but all of them were tolerable. There's no stinkers here.
Mm-hmm. My favorite was the Live and Let Dive. It's a group
Yes.
of it starts out with skydivers in a plane, and the effects were really good in that. Looked really realistic. It's a group of them packed in together, a group of friends, and something bad happens. And
There's aliens.
and they end up on the ground. Yeah, there's aliens, and yeah, the effects in that were really realistic.
Yeah. Well, I think the theme for all I don't remember now if it's not all of them, but most of these are aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, it's good.
Yeah, liked the individual stories. And yeah, I think I'm going to call this one my favorite in the series.
Oh, of the series?
Yeah,
Okay,
my
yeah.
favorite of all the VHS movies. Despite the not strong wraparound, I thought the stories themselves were my favorites.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Next up, Strange Darling. Written and directed by J.T. Molnar. Stars Willa Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner, Madison Beatty. Hour and 37 minutes. Trailer in the usual place. And this one you can find, it says here, on Apple TV, and Amazon Video.
Okay.
Probably other places too, but that's what the thing here says.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, this was a good script that was made even more interesting by chapters, and it's given to us out of order.
It's told that this story is sort of based on a serial killer story, and it's told in 6 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
But then we start off with chapter 3.
Chapter 3?
Yeah.
And then go back and forth. And yeah, it was
We do get the whole story eventually.
Yep, they cover them all. Yeah. Right off the bat, you see that things are a little strange. We gradually figure out what's going on, and it all comes together at the end. And we both really like this one.
I'm going to say this is my favorite of the week.
I'm going to go with that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A woman asks the man if he's well, again, we're starting in chapter 3, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
A woman asks the man if he's a serial killer, and it certainly looks like he is. Credits roll as we hear about this being the true story of a serial killer's final days, told in 6 chapters. We watch a crying woman running across a field.
It's that same woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cut to the same woman, now in a car, driving fast to get away from the serial killer man, who is in a truck behind her. We're told that this is chapter 3, letting us know this isn't the beginning of her story. He stops, gets out, and shoots her car, which flips and rolls. She gets out and runs through the forest on foot, with him not far behind. She finds a campsite and steals a bottle of alcohol. She pulls off a bandage, and we see that her left ear is gone.
Owie.
She
Painful.
pours some of the alcohol on the wound and tries hard not to scream, because he's not far away.
Mm-hmm.
She then lights a cigarette, which we both thought was a really bad idea. She's poured
Alcohol. She's
poured
just
alcohol
doused.
all over herself.
Yeah, she covered the wound good, but it spilled all down her,
And then there's smoke going through the air.
there's smoke. Yeah, he's close by, and he's gonna smell smoke, or maybe even see the smoke.
But she doesn't explode.
Yeah.
She has a couple of puffs and moves on.
She goes, yeah.
She comes to a farmhouse and asks the people inside for help. We are now in chapter 5. The killer is inside the old people's farmhouse. As he goes room to room, we see the old man is already dead, and the woman is hiding in a freezer. And he finds that woman hiding in the freezer. All right, we pop back to chapter 1.
Okay.
Because that's the way this is going to go. The woman and the man are on a date, and they kiss. They have a really mundane conversation, and she ends up talking about the risks women take when meeting up with strange men for hookups. We repeat that scene that we saw earlier where she asks if he's a serial killer, And he says no. We would then cut to them in the motel room with him choking her. Harder, she says. Oh, that wasn't what we thought it was.
It was, okay, yeah.
All right, well, let's just stop there, yes.
Just one of the first big surprises.
It's out of order, and nothing is what it seems like.
In that farmhouse, did you notice the way that was decorated, too? With the colors and the pictures were all kind of weird. And everything about the farmhouse decor was weird.
Yeah.
Which made me think, or like...
Are they in on it or something?
Are the old couple really the serial killers or something? I mean, they were just off, you know.
Well, the soundtrack really stands out in this one. I liked it a lot. I haven't played the soundtrack, but I might. The sets, colors, and cinematography are really good as well. The actions of both the main characters are a little off because they're both a little crazy. Who wouldn't be after all this? Mm-hmm. We guessed early on that everything wasn't exactly as it appeared, and we were right, but there was a lot more to it than we didn't predict. Putting the chapters out of order isn't a new idea. It happens all the time. But doing it so explicitly with numbers and title cards makes it far more obvious as what happenings and when. Yeah, we both really liked this one.
Yeah, favorite of the week.
Yes. All right, that takes us to
Apartment 7A.
Yeah.
Now, if you've seen the classic Rosemary's Baby from the 70s, this is a prequel to that,
which you can find on Paramount Plus and Apple TV.
Okay. This or Rosemary's Baby?
This, I have no idea.
Rosemary's Baby you can probably find everywhere.
Yeah, it's old.
Yeah.
Directed by Natalie Erica James, written by Natalie Erica James, Christopher White, and Skylar James. Stars Julia Garner, Diane Weist. She's been around 1,000 years. You'd think I know how to spell her name.
You'd think so, but I don't either.
And Kevin McNally, hour and 44 minutes, trailer in the show notes.
Spoiler free?
Spoiler free.
Well, everything about this is good. It's just that it seemed unnecessary. It is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, like we've seen, like we said. And if you've seen that, you know how this is going to end.
Yes.
Because they clearly spell it out at the beginning of Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby shows the end of this movie.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I mean, it was enjoyable to watch. Everybody was really good in its effects and everything. But we didn't feel like it added much to the series.
Well, here's the thing. If you've seen Rosemary's Baby, you know how this is going to end. You know exactly what's going to happen. And this is kind of the same thing, only their first attempt.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Rosemary's Baby and you watch this first,
well, then
it's going to ruin Rosemary's Baby, which is a much better movie.
Yeah, because then you know how Rosemary's Baby is going to end.
You're like, oh, I know what they're doing. Yeah, they've already done this.
So it's kind of a catch-22 on seeing these.
Well, the best solution that I can come up with is, don't watch this one.
See Rosemary's Baby.
If you didn't get enough of Rosemary's Baby and want to see it again, only different, come to this one. Don't watch this first.
If you're curious of what happened to the girl before Rosemary, you could watch this.
I wasn't.
I wasn't.
I never gave her a second thought.
I never really wondered. Yeah. But anyway, here we find out.
And if you go to horrorguys.com and type in Rosemary's Baby in the search bar, you can read our review and our whole, the whole synopsis of that. If you don't remember all the details. Mm-hmm. But this movie here is about Terry. And Terry gets a good segment in the late original movie. And you can read up on that if you've forgotten about it.
So we're not going to spoil it, but it's already been spoiled.
This whole movie has been spoiled already.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, I can't think of a single thing here that's really new.
Now, I do want to mention that some of the characters in the apartment building from Rosemary's Baby,
yeah,
I thought the casting was quite good.
The old people?
Yeah, the old people. These aren't the same old people.
Well, it's been 60 years.
It's been 60 years.
Yeah,
those. But I thought the casting was quite good.
Yeah, Diane Weist does the...
Yeah, I'm talking like an old lady.
And she does the same voice as Ruth Gordon in the original, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her husband...
Roman,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember him much from the first one.
And some of the other lesser characters, I thought, like, oh, that's a nice match,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing. How much acting can you do when you're basically impersonating people from 60 years ago?
Yeah.
These are not new characters, most of them.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Terry goes out on stage to perform in a musical, and she does, in fact, break a leg.
Ow.
She passes out, surrounded by surgeons. Credits roll.
She has messed up her ankle bad.
Sometime later, she limps down the street, and we see that she's got abundant pain medication. She still auditions, but her ankle hasn't healed completely, so it always goes badly. You're infamous, says one casting director. She's the girl that fell.
Yeah, because it happened during
the
an actual
performance.
performance. Yeah.
She might not be able to continue her dancing career, no matter how determined she is. Alan Marchand, one director, instructs her to humiliate herself, like acting like a pig, and she refuses. He sort of seems to appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, you up on the
Scored
stage.
points.
Oink like a pig for us. She won't do it.
Get on all fours. No. And they, okay. he seems like, which is the right thing that she did. Yeah.
Her friend and roommate, Annie, warns her not to overdo those pain pills. Twice now we've seen these pain pills. We're starting to wonder, is it going to be one of those movies?
It's always one of those, yeah.
She also suggests that Terry go back home to Nebraska. She goes to see Marchand at his apartment, but Leo the doorman thinks she's on drugs, which she is.
Yeah, and that's a good character moment too, where she, talking about, you should go home to Nebraska and heal up and everything. And Terry said, that's my dream. That's the only thing I want is, and that's why I'm here in New York, to be a dancer and be a somebody. And
yeah, so she leaves.
Very determined.
She leaves the director's apartment, and on the way out, she runs into an old couple, Roman and Minnie Kestevet, who take her home and help her sober up.
Yeah, she overdid it with the pain pills and passes out. Yeah.
And if you've seen Rosemary's Baby, the original, you know who these old people are.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, the pushy Minnie makes Terry eat breakfast. They're very nice and offer to let her live in the apartment next door for free. This is downtown New York City, and they own like half this building, it sounds like.
They're very rich.
Terry is eager to get away from Annie's place, so she takes him up on their offer. While unpacking, she finds Joan Cebulski's shoe in the apartment. Who's that? We don't know. She still thinks that by living there in the same building, she's got an in with Marchand.
See, now they could do a prequel.
They could. What happened to Joan?
Yeah,
Due to a scheduling issue, she ends up having drinks alone with Marchand in his apartment. It looks very much like a setup.
Yeah.
Naturally, he drugs her, and she passes out, which leads to a drug-induced musical number where she ends up in a great big, Broadway production. Or maybe she's being raped by Satan. She's not quite sure which.
It's quite a scene.
We know.
Yeah, we know which it is.
In the morning, she wakes up to him making her an espresso and talking about him having a wonderful time last night. She doesn't remember any of it. He says she's got a part in the latest show he's producing, and at rehearsal, the other dancers make it clear that they know she slept her way to the top.
Well, it's not the top yet. It's just the chorus, but it's a job. She's working.
She did sleep her way there, though.
Yeah.
Later, she notices really odd-shaped bruises on her body. Yeah, let's stop there.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, so you know where this is going because you've seen it before.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
All right, well, this is a prequel to 1968's Rosemary's Baby, and in that film, we see what happens to Terry at the end, so it's already spoiled for us. We know exactly how she's ending. This is essentially the same plot, so we know the baddie's intentions and even their modus operandi, so that's spoiled too. This is just a new victim, or the first victim in this case.
No, well, not their first attempt.
Well, not even their first, no.
Actually, they mentioned that
the shoe they found, yes.
This is the first one that took, I think, is one of the lines. Or
all right,
you're the first one that took. That there have been multiple attempts before her.
Due to all this, there's no suspense or mystery. We know everything that's going to happen, and it does happen exactly as you think. It's well made, well acted, looks good, and is nicely paced. Everything about this movie is good, except that we've seen it all before. Mm-hmm. It was completely unnecessary, does not add anything to the original, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you are a really big fan and just need more.
Yeah, I don't regret seeing it, but I don't think it'll be the classic that Rosemary's Baby was.
Rosemary's Baby is not my favorite movie.
Oh, I like that one a lot.
It's all right.
Okay. Too slow moving for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we missing one here? Am I missing a movie?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, VHS, we did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, short films. The Curse of Dracula.
Yes, with an R.
Dracular.
Dracular. with
You
an
gotta
R
say
at the
British.
end.
He's Dracula. Written and directed by Jack Patterson. Stars. Well, it doesn't. It's claymation. A little over 7 minutes, and you can watch it on YouTube. What happens to Dracula?
Well, we watch as well. First, okay, this is in the commentary. Okay, I'll just get. Well, so we watch as claymation versions of Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee do a very abbreviated version of a Hammer-style Dracula movie. And the dialogue is awkward and basically atrocious because it was literally written by a 9-year-old.
And narrated by a 9-year-old, it sounds like.
And that's explained, too.
Which normally we would not put something that crappy on here, but there's an explanation.
It's so cute and so funny, yeah. Dracula attacks Cushing's daughter but is driven off. The townspeople gang up on Dracula, and he's eventually killed by a 5-year-old who throws a stake at him that just happens to embed in his chest.
Yeah, so if you're a 9-year-old writing a story, don't submit it to us. We've done one. Well, the creator explains that this is a student film of his that was based on a short story his father wrote when he was 9 years old. And, of course, the name comes because the young child spelled Dracula wrong in the title. They're British. They say, they're good. I got the idea of a Dracula.
Dracula.
Well, that sounds more hillbilly than British, don't it? Well, anyway, that's where the name comes from. He used the dialogue and script 100% accurate to the original story his father wrote, which is why this sounds a little odd. The claymation is really well done. It's gory and brutal, but in a kind of a childish way. If I were a 9-year-old writing a horror story, this is about what I'd have done as well. And, those old Hammer horror films don't get much airtime anymore. But things like this show us just how influential those old films were on the psyche of that generation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's weird and funny. Yeah. Would recommend.
And it's short, so if you don't like it, you're not out much.
Yeah.
All right. But what's this next one? Copy 2024. Directed by Cameron Gallagher, written by Jeremiah Lewis, and it stars twins, Heather Frederick and Hunter Frederick, 8 minutes, 36 seconds. Or maybe they're sisters. I don't know if they're twins. And it's on YouTube. A woman talks about her fear of becoming a mother as she complains about her own bad mother to her sister. She's making the call while staying late at night in the office, making copies on the copier. She's concerned about snapping the way her own mother did. What if I can't handle it? Well, she finishes her call and then hears something in the dark, deserted office. Maybe she's not alone after all.
Maybe.
Okay, so it's clearly something to do with childhood trauma and abuse having its own, history with you. But this might be taken a little far. Who knew copy machines could be so terrifying? It looks good, although it's very dark in the middle. But that's kind of the story, because she can't see what's in there with her.
And it took me a minute to figure out, too, the lighting effect with the overhead lights.
That's
Did
the
you
copy
notice
machine,
that?
yes.
It's like she was in a giant copy machine in the hallway. Yeah, it was cool.
The makeup effects are good, and the sound here is done very well also.
Yeah, this was a winner.
It was good.
Yeah, I liked that.
It's no Dracula.
But I liked it, yeah.
And we got another animated one. This one's called The Shutterbug Man. This is older, from 2014. Written and directed by Chris Walsh, stars animated, narrated by Barbara Steele. Speaking of Hammer horror films, she was in a bunch of them.
Yeah.
4 minutes, 13 seconds, not trailer, you can watch it on YouTube.
And this was really visually interesting.
It's a stop-motion short about a man who is obsessed with his camera, photographing only nasty, scary, and gross things. Then his insanity kicks in, and he stabs out his own eyeballs. Now what's he going to do? He has a plan.
That's just the beginning.
The narration here is excellent, and the visuals are really nightmare material. It's all black and white and grainy, and the ambient music makes it all seem like a twisted fairy tale. Very nice.
Yes, it is.
All right, so we're going to go with Strange Darling as our favorite for the week.
Yes.
Apartment 7A is not our favorite for the week.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I guess probably. Yeah, it's hard to say. I'd put that as my lowest.
All right.
Yeah.
Next week we'll have 5 more movies and some shorts for you. I think next week we're going to have 5 movies and 5 shorts. We don't have any indie films, so we'll be doing the new stuff all the way through.
Okay.
A feature-packed movie week for you.
And it is the season of new horror movies.
Yep, they'll all be this year's newish releases.
Cool.
Also, don't forget, if you want an oldish release, we'll be doing Classics Weekly in a couple of days. So go over to classicsweekly.com, sign up for that, subscribe to the podcast, and just, follow along. It's one more movie. What's it going to hurt?
Yeah.
You're in for 5 or 6 a week with
You
us.
might as well just do one more.
Why not?
What is one more?
It's free. It's easy. You can always just delete the emails, but okay, yeah. All right. And, of course, if you are not subscribed to horrorweekly.com, you should be. You can subscribe to the podcast there. You can get the newsletter there. And, of course, there's links to the magazine and everything else. So, yeah, horrorweekly.com. It's got it all.
Nice.
And it doesn't have us because we'll be back next week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see ya.
See ya.